What's going on guys, Chris here. Today I'm going to be doing another video on my VSR 10. I actually had a commenter ask me if I could show how to install the Airsoft Pro Gen 5 trigger that I did a sort of quick light review on, which I think is a fair question because I sort of just talked about it, installed it but didn't really show anyone, and just talked about it a bit more. So I'm going to do a quick takedown, show you how you would sort of go about installing your new trigger unit. It's really simple, really easy. You don't need much tools. Really, all that you need for doing a trigger unit is a set of Allen keys, which I've got here, and I will show you which one that I actually use for taking down the VSR. It's only a couple that I really actually have to use. I've got these pliers here for removing the cylinder head if you ever need to remove the cylinder head on your VSR for changing sort of piston, springs, the spring guide at the base of the cylinder as well. Usually there's two little dimples, you pop them on like that and you twist and remove the cylinder head. Sometimes you'll need a Phillips screwdriver. Well, if you're taking off your hop unit, you'll usually need a Phillips screwdriver. So we'll get started, and I'll start showing you how to take down your rifle. So take down the bipod here. So at the base of your VSR you've got two bolts here, and in between you've got your mag well, so they're super easy to spot. So if I remember correctly, this is the 2.5 Allen key that I've got. You can just sort of spin them out. This one on the body the centre of the body takes a little bit longer. And then once you've got that one out, you just move on to the next one at the top. And always keep your screws where you can see them. Keep them in a pot or something, if you can, if it's at all possible. I'll actually just loosen this up. My sort of trigger guard is a little bit broken at the moment. I need to get a replacement one for that. So that's how you separate the VSR body from the actual main components of the VSR. I'm just looking back to check that I'm still recording, because I had a problem with my card earlier, my SD card. So put that to the side just now. Get that out of the way. So what you'll be left with is the actual main components of your VSR. So here you can see we've got the Airsoft Pro Gen 5 90-degree trigger unit. On your typical Cyma VSR or your TM VSR, you'll obviously have a different stock trigger unit, which will always pretty much be a 45-degree trigger unless you've got some kind of sort of semi-upgraded stock rifle. At the base here, you'll see one screw, and at the back here, if the camera will focus, and at the back here, you'll have another screw. I have actually noticed that there's a screw that's come loose. I have taken the VSR to a game since I've installed this, so it's maybe just come loose from playing. So there's something to add, something potentially you might need to watch out for when you buy this trigger unit. Just make sure that your screws, all of the screws, are actually fully in. You can see it's poking out there. So what I'll do now, guys, is I'll remove those two screws now that I've tightened up the sort of, I guess you call it like the faceplate, the side plate screws. All of the side plate screws were sort of loose, so if you do buy this, I would definitely recommend just tightening them up as a sort of precaution. Again, this is the 2.5 Allen key that I'm using. So same as the body, same as the trigger. So as I mentioned before, at the top there are two small holes where you get your pliers. Twist like that. Super easy. What you don't want to do is grab the actual sort of nozzle section and scrape that up and mess that up, because it could possibly affect the air seal and the bucking, I guess, which isn't something that you want to do. There we go. So that's the cylinder head removed. Here is the 90-degree piston. Here's my spring that I actually needed to remove anyway, so that's fine. And this is a Laylax PSS10 spring guide. So, depending on what you're doing, when you start to remove all these parts, it's probably, a good time to install any other upgrade parts you might want to put in, like a better spring guide, different spring and stuff like that. You can do all of that. This is the Abbey silicone gun oil 35. This is for sort of strictly rubber parts like the O-rings and stuff on the piston. And then what I also use is some of their Abbey gun lube SM50, it's called. I use that on the metal to metal parts, so like the spring guide and the spring and stuff, just little bits like that. So more specifically metal to metal. So you've removed your old piston, all your old parts. What I'm going to do is get a little bit of this SM50. This is a ball bearing spring guide, so I'm just putting a little bit on there. Just a few dabs and dots. Some along the actual rod. Just for when it's got the spring rattling against it. And I'm going to drop that back in. Another good thing to do is maybe just clean the inside of your cylinder, and also re-lube with silicone oil. I'm going to put, before I do that actually, try and give this spring a little clean, because it's been sitting in my sort of airsoft parts bag for a while. And then I'm going to just kind of dribble some of this along, just to kind of lubricate the spring a bit. Some people might not do that, some people maybe do that. I do that, so it's up to you whether you want to do it or not. For the sake of just showing you in the video, I'm just going to clean up my piston a little bit. Really sort of lint-free rags and stuff are probably more ideal. I've never had any trouble using sort of tissue paper and stuff like that to clean my stuff up. It's never given me any issues really. So silicone gun oil. I put this around the O-ring on the top here. For a good seal and to keep it lubricated. You don't have to put loads, I just give it a sort of run around. I usually drop a few droplets on the walls of the cylinder as well, just to help lubricate it the piston while it's moving. I'm going to do a little bit around the piston guide rings as well. You don't want to flood the cylinder with oil, because it can come through to the hop and sort of mess up your hop, which isn't good. Makes it all looby, not very good. So now that we've sorted all that out, a good thing to do is Teflon wrap your cylinder head. So when applying the Teflon tape, so I'm trying to make sure the camera's focusing because I've had an issue with it not focusing properly while filming this. So you want to get it onto the threads underneath the O-ring, if you've got one, and just pull it tight, roll the cylinder head, and you only really need one or two goes round, because any more than like really two, it just like shreds when you go to put it in, so there's not much point in really doing much more than that. So what you'll obviously find is that you've got this big section on the front of the cylinder head now, so most of the time you can just kind of pull it off around the edge like that. Just be gentle with it. There you go. And that frees up the front of the cylinder head like that. So now that we've done all that, get my cylinder head back into place. Make sure it's nice and tight. So now you've got your reassembled cylinder. What I do as well is sometimes lubricate this inner section, just to sort of ensure that the cylinder moves nice and smooth as well, because there are sort of cylinder guide rings in there too, that it's good to keep them nice and happy and lubricated. And now that we've got the piston changed, the spring changed and stuff, now we just install the new trigger unit. So this section here, where my second finger's tapping, this fits behind the spring guide. And the spring guide, if you can see it, sorry, the camera's at an awkward angle. Where my finger's pointing, inside there, you should be able to see a little silver spring guide section there. And just below that is a gap, and in that gap fits our little rod here. So it's really, really simple. Just line up the rod with the gap below the spring guide section, and you pop it in like that. You just push it in, it clicks into place, and then you tighten up your screws, and that is your trigger unit fitted and sorted. And so just make sure your screws are nice and tight. Don't want any issues with the trigger coming loose, especially during a game. That's the last thing you want. Cylinder guide ring there, and that's the trigger installed back onto the VSR. So after this, super simple. You just place this back into the body of your VSR, and put back the two bolts that you took out when you removed it, and that's it. You're pretty much all ready to go. So I'm just going to quickly do that, and we'll finish up the video. There we go, guys. That's your rifle put back together. So just give it a test pull make sure everything's nice and smooth. Perfect. So that was just a quick video on how to change the trigger unit. We went into showing how to do the piston because when I was doing the video I completely forgot that I'd have to show you how to change the piston as well, because you need a 90-degree piston for a 90-degree trigger unit. So I went back and just kind of added that in, took a little video, added that in, and I'll splice it together afterwards. But yeah, hopefully that was a useful video for you. Specifically a useful video to the commenter that was asking for it, Richie Allgood. Hopefully you found this video useful, mate. If you did find it useful and you enjoyed it, please subscribe, please like, it helps me out a lot. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. Get out there, play some airsoft, and happy hunting. Cheers.